Now, one of the things that we have to be concerned about, of course, is, and we've mentioned this many times, this increased training by the U.S. government, the advanced prepositioning and militarization of the police, the prepositioning of MRAPs and other pieces of military hardware under the Section 1033 program that we see increasing at a rapid rate. All of this is preparation for some kind of unrest. Are they concerned about a financial collapse? We learned today that in the Texas State Legislature, a bill has been put forward. This is House Bill number 2346 that would give law enforcement capacity to the Federal Reserve agents at banks. This says this is an act relating to granting limited state law enforcement authority to commissioned law enforcement officers of a Federal Reserve bank. Now, you may ask, rightfully so, who, where, why does the Federal Reserve have law enforcement agencies there? Well, of course, this is part of the post-September 11th police state that's been created in our country. They have given power to the Federal Reserve banks to commission law enforcement officers. What this bill is doing is recognizing them as federal law enforcement officers and saying they will have state authority to arrest people. They say, although they will not be peace officers under the laws of the state, the bill would give them the powers of arrest, search, and seizure as to any felony or misdemeanor offense created under the laws of the state committed on the premises of a Federal Reserve bank, or while they are protecting an officer or personnel of the Federal Reserve Bank. It makes you curious, doesn't it, as to why they would be so concerned about Federal Reserve banks needing that kind of protection, arrest protection. Perhaps that's something they foresee coming with an economic collapse. Nevertheless, this is also part of an expanding bureaucracy. And of course, the Federal Reserve is not part of the federal government. It is a private, separate corporation. Nevertheless, we see that law enforcement officers and people who are given these kinds of police powers are exploding. Every bureaucracy, real bureaucracies of the federal government, not the private agencies like the Federal Reserve, but agencies like the Department of Education have been given law enforcement capabilities. It was a couple of years ago, the Washington Post asked, why do we have this solicitation in FedBiz Op of the Department of Education seeking shotguns and personnel armor? They found out less than a year later when the Department of Education staged a raid on a home looking for a mother and wife who was behind in her college loans. They drugged the entire family out on the front lawn in the dead of night, face down with guns loaded to their heads, looking for the wife and mother who was no longer with the family. That's the kind of abuse, these kinds of no-knock raids that we're seeing from the police all the time. But it is also, I think, characteristic of what we're seeing from our government. They are creating swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance. And now we have a bill in Texas that's being fought by Jonathan Strickland, another Texas representative. This one was introduced by Representative Pickett. Jonathan Strickland is fighting this bill because we do not need to be multiplying the number of officers who are going to harass us and arrest us.